Hey everyone, it's Keeley here for Soy and Shea, and thank you so much for joining me for today's video where we're going to go make another one of the Christmas soaps. Now today's soap is called Fairy Lights, and I tried to make this one look like there was some tinsel wrapped around a tree with some little fairy lights sitting across the top. Let's go and see how this one turns out. Alright, so for our fairy lights, I actually have little Christmas tree lights to go onto the top of this soap, and I use this mold which I got from off of Amazon. It actually came as a set of 2, but I used this particular one to get these molds out. I'll leave links down below to where I got this mold from. It's in my Amazon shop front there, but it was super simple. I just pushed some of my soap dough into them. I pushed some color down the bottom, some black for the little tops, and then just popped them out. If you're interested in my soap dough recipe, that can actually be found on the DIY Body Care website, and again there's links available in the description box. But let's get on to making this soap, and I'm really hoping I'm going to be able to pull this off. It's not a super complicated design, but I do know from the past that most of the sort of tree-like smelling fragrances do tend to move a bit quicker on me, and this particular fragrance I'm using today does move quick. But to work with it, I'm going to be doing some layers. So first of all, we'll get this bit mixed together. All right, so we're actually going to split this up for a few colors here, and I know these two are exactly the same. It's trial by fire, but it's just going to make it easier for me here. What we're going to do is pour a bit off. We don't need a lot. I think that's going to be enough in each of them. The idea is that this is going to represent a bit of tinsel through the soap. Actually, I think we do need a bit more. This is going, I haven't mixed this a lot, so it's just starting to separate just a little bit. Just give it a bit of a stir. In fact, I think I might need, because I'm going to pour it across the whole top of the soap, I might need just a bit more, like so. I don't actually want it to be really, really thick layer. I think we're going to go, oh, I don't know. I really should actually do what so many of the other soap makers do and sit down and calculate exactly what I need, and then it will stop this indecision sort of time. I have got a false trace going on in my pot here, but we'll sort that out in just a moment. I'm going to scrape those sides down like so. Now into my big pot, I have a tree leaf mica here, and I'm going to put a fair amount in there because I also know that this fragrance oil does darken. It doesn't go brown, but it does darken just a little bit. Let's get all these colors mixed together. Now, we've got our little tinsel colours mixed up there. Now what I'm going to do, because I absolutely love washing up jugs, I actually want to make sure I've got, not necessarily even, but I do want to make sure that I've got enough green soap for each of my layers. So I'm going to pour my soap out between my 4 buckets. I'm going to need 4 layers. One of these buckets will need more green than the others. So let's see if I can get this to happen. I was just having a little bit of a think. I thought, well, actually no, probably it doesn't. They can all actually be even buckets of green. I'm going to start by putting those 3 to one side. We're going to wipe up all this soap that I'm spilling everywhere today. We're going to grab our mold so that we are ready to go, and I'm going to start by pouring about a quarter of this fragrance into this first pot. I'm going to give it a stir, and then I'm going to pour it into my mold. And you watch, just because every other year this is accelerated on me, I bet it doesn't do it this year, because I'm working according to how it behaves. I can just feel this has gone. Look at that. Why do things do this? All right, so yeah, this one's going to prove me wrong this year, and always the way. I actually need this to be thicker, and this year it's thinned out. Who knows? Who knows why things do this? All right. This is why I very rarely test my fragrances. In fact, I'm not going to bother scoping that out too much. This is why I very, very rarely actually test fragrances, because they do things differently every time you use them. And just because it behaves one way in someone's soap, it does not mean to say it's going to behave that way in yours. If you really want some proof on that, all you need to do is watch videos where both myself and Lee from Wicked Lee Goods have used the same fragrance. We use different recipes, and I have had fragrance oils that just misbehave on me so badly, and then you go and watch Lee make her soap and it behaves beautifully. And she wonders what I'm going on about. And then there's other times she's used fragrances that have misbehaved chronically for her. I use them and everything's fine and dandy. So I never ever pay attention to things like other people's reviews on fragrances. I don't even look about whether people say that it holds well or not, because I do feel that your soap recipe can actually influence how well a scent holds, including what temperatures you soap at and things like that. So that is why I always just wing it. And there's also fragrances I can use in summer and I can't use in winter, and vice versa, because they just don't soap well in each of the different seasons. Anyhow, I am just trying to texture the top of this just a little bit before we pour on a tinsel layer. It's setting up, but it's not setting up enough. Now, initially I wasn't going to put the fragrance into these, but you know what? We will put a little bit in there because it behaved so well, rather than just pouring it all into the greens. All right, so we're going to pour. I really do want this to be textured more, but oh yeah, now it's going. I just want it to look a little bit like fir needles sticking up between the tinsel. I don't want too much of a texture, which is why I'm just using a tiny stainless spoon here. It's one just for doing like little measurements with, but that is looking better. I just thought I better double check that it's still going to play right in that red. Knowing my luck, I turn my back on it and it will set up. But I think we might be able to pull this soap off if it's going to behave like this. All right, let's get this red layer in here. Probably, it doesn't really matter if it drops into the green. And it's only going to be very, very sort of thin layer. It may not cover the whole layer. And that is pretty much a purposeful thing. In fact, we will get it to cover the whole layer. We'll just do that. I'll scrape this pot out and we'll move on to the next green bit. We are up to the final layer. It's getting thick, guys. It's getting really thick, but that's not too bad. What I'm going to do is grab one of these pots that I had before and just pour some of this off, because we're going to do a bit of piping on the top as well, and we're going to do a fair amount of piping. So yeah, that's looking pretty good. Hopefully it's enough. We'll see. Let's pour the rest of the fragrance in there. I know that's going to loosen that up enough that I can then get it onto the top of the soap. Oh, and we're going to throw it everywhere too. Just trying to get it mixed in. It's smelling really, really good. It's got that real classic pine sort of Christmas smell to it. But there's a few other underlying tones, like a bit of nutmeg, cinnamon, that sort of thing in there as well. And just very, very traditional Christmassy sort of smell. Just going to pour that across the top like so. We'll spread it out as much as I can. And then that other soap that I've got left over there, I'm going to thicken it up just a little bit more. And then I'm going to pop it into a piping bag with a leaf tip. And then we're going to pipe leaves all over the top of this soap. Hopefully, because now this has gone fluid again. All right, so I've got my leaf tip in my bag, and all I'm going to do is just hopefully pipe lots of leaves on here just to make it look like the spines on a Christmas tree. Hopefully I've saved myself enough, because usually I save myself way too much, but I'm thinking I might not have enough in the bag. We'll see how we go. There's no rhyme or reason. I'm just putting lots of leaves all over the top here. If I do run out, I always have my melt tank full of oil, so we can always just mix up a little bit more to go onto the top. So I'm going to pipe all these on, and then once we've got that on here, I will probably put a little bit of biodegradable glitter, some red and some gold, just to try and tie in the colours from the inside, and then we'll pop our little lights on. I don't know why I was so worried about not having enough. I went really stingy at first, and then by the time I got to the end, I realized I had so much of that green safe back that I could really fill this in, which is what I wanted it to do. I know it's not a traditional looking sort of spindly looking pine things, but you know, it's artistic. We can do whatever we want when we're being artistic. So I've just put some red biodegradable glitter on the top, and now I'm just going to sprinkle a few of the gold cellulose beads, which will hopefully tie in the layered colours from the bottom there. And now we're going to pop on our Christmas lights, and I did do enough so I could get hopefully 3 on each one, and I really wasn't thinking when I did those green ones, was I? Because the green one kind of just gets really lost in there, but that's okay. Oh no, you're not in the middle of the soap there. All right, let's try and get these in so we don't get too many cut ones, and I'm just going to kind of pop the colours on a little bit more sort of random to what they, you know, so that they're all different sort of thing. Anyway, I'm going to get those on. The girls next door in the hairdresser have come in. They've got their music up loud, and it sounds like they're going to have a really good, happy day. There is lots of squealing coming from next door, and they haven't even got their customers in yet. So I'm going to get these on, and then I will bring you in for a closer look. So Fairy Lights is now in the mold. Hopefully as this sets up and cures, those two greens will actually look different. I was kicking myself because when I'd made all the green ones, I did actually think I should have done them in yellow, but I thought, oh well, we still have green lights, and I just wasn't thinking about the top color of the soap. But it is still looking really good, so we're going to leave it sit overnight, and we'll come back in just a moment and we'll have a look at what those layers look like and see if it looks like tinsel on a tree. All right, it is the next day. We are ready to cut into Fairy Lights, and you can see that the green bulbs have really actually popped off that paler green, though I'm still kicking myself. I should have done them in yellow, but oh well, too late now. It is still looking really good. Let's get it lined up in Ida. I'm trying to make sure. I did actually place my light bulbs so that they should be between the lines. We get those nice little end pieces. And through we go. Oh yes, we missed cutting those bulbs. And let's grab, oh, that looks so good. I am super happy with how that's come up. I like how it's got some thin and some thicker sort of areas, and it's not straight, so it really does look like you've got that tinsel draped over the tree. Absolutely love how it's come up, and I think I got just the right amount of color going through each of those layers. I was a little bit concerned about the bottom layer because the red was a little bit more fluid than sort of like the top layer here, but I think it has come up absolutely perfectly. Really, really happy, and it smells so good. Any bet though, if I try and use this fragrance again, it will accelerate on me like it has done in the past. It's always the way when you want to do a layered soap, you end up with a fragrance that behaves, and if you want to do lovely swirls, it always misbehaves. But the end result has still come up really good, and it just smells like a Christmas tree, which is what I absolutely love. And those little light bulbs on the top, really, really happy with it. So thank you so much for coming along with me as I made the Fairy Lights Christmas soap. If you enjoyed today's video, why not leave me a thumbs up and any comments down below. And until the next video comes out, I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you then. Bye.